Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Parikshit Luthra and here are the headlines we are tracking this evening. A Friday rally, the biggest 5 months, sees the market ending in the green for the second time in 10 sessions. 35 out of 50 nifty stocks end gains this week. Rupee recovered slightly after hitting a record low yesterday. Adani Group stocks recover a day after a massive sell-off that wiped off over 2 lakh crore rupees of investor wealth. Reports suggest that SEBI is looking into whether the Adani Group flouted rules by failing to disclose that the US government was investigating bribery allegations against Gautam Adani and other group executives. The White House says relationship between India and US stand on an extremely strong foundation, expresses confidence that both nations can navigate the crisis surrounding the bribery charges against the Adani Group chairman Gautam Adani and 7 others.
$300 million. It's the largest 100% Indian fundraise for a private startup in the history of this country, right? And we are proud of it.
Zepto raises $350 million from a clutch of Indian investors to bolster domestic shareholding. CEO Adit Palicha claims company created 1 lakh jobs and the average monthly salary of delivery partners is more than 23,000 rupees. Denies predatory pricing charges, saying inefficient middlemen have been cut out of the value chain.
This will be one of the most important markets and regions going forward.
The global CEO of semiconductor maker AMD, Lisa Su, says India is one of the most important markets as it houses the company's largest team outside of the US, promises to continue investing as AMD celebrates completing 20 years in India. Mahanagar Gas hikes prices of compressed natural gas in Mumbai and adjoining areas by 2 rupees to 77 rupees a kilogram. This comes weeks after the government slashed cheaper domestic gas allocation to distributors by 20%. NTPC Green's 10,000 crore rupee IPO is successful after a strong appetite from retail investors. The offer is fully subscribed on the final day. Supreme Court expresses dissatisfaction with the compliance of the truck entry ban in Delhi, appoints 13 lawyers as advocate commissioners to examine whether directives are being followed, directs Delhi police and the Delhi government to ensure that checkposts are set up at the 113 entry points. Leaders from Ukraine and NATO to hold talks in Brussels after Russia fires an experimental hypersonic missile. Vladimir Putin threatens Western nations, saying Russia has the right to strike those providing weapons to Ukraine. Bitcoin hovering near the $100,000 mark as the rally continues. Bitcoin has gained over 40% since Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential election. A strong rebound on Friday helps the sensex and nifty end the week in the green. Nifty moved closer to the 24,000 mark after gaining over 500 points today. The sensex gained nearly 2,000 points to cross the 79,000 level. Both the indices gained 2%. This week, mid-cap index gained over 1% today. Prashant Nair is here with the market wrap.
Well, finally, a market which recovered and stayed recovered by close at 3:30. Unlike Tuesday, when you had a big move higher, but then fizzled out towards the last hour of trade. The Nifty went up and sort of kept going through the day. It was a trending day, actually. Last 60 minutes adding about 100 points for the index. Nifty Bank looking very, very strong. Actually, it was largely a large cap day because large cap indices did 2% plus. Mid and small cap indices were up about 1.25% or so. PSU banks were the top gainer. Real estate as a space did well. IT services was another pack which actually did quite well. Large cap stocks on the Nifty. SBI really stood out. Big gains. TCS did well. Titan, JSW Steel, Bajaj Finance and Ultratech were some of the others which did quite well. In the broader market, I mean, and by the way, on the Nifty, very few losers and in the 0.5% to 1% range. So I'm not bothering with those. In the broader market, advances far outnumbered declines. Paytm was a big mover, almost 900. Naukri, there was an upgrade, big gains. PFC, there was a Bernstein note, stock ended 5% higher. Praj was up 10%, Swan Energy, Raymond recovered almost 20% by close, MRPL, Godrej Properties, Castrol, Shipping Corporation of India, Sobha, Phoenix Limited, KEI, Spark, TFCIL and Wockhardt, which was up about 5% as well. I mean, a lot of the gains, of course, coming on the back of sharp corrections that we've seen. Some of these stocks are down 25-30% from their respective highs in late September. What was under pressure? The Adani Group stocks, there was some recovery from the lows, but still, I mean, you had Adani Green, Power and Energy Solutions, which were lower. There were also losses coming through in Honasa. Of course, it's been a catastrophic week for the Honasa share price, down sharply. Torrent Power and Shilpa Medicare were some of the other names which lost in trade today. I mean, as we come back on Monday, there will, of course, be the Maharashtra state election results, which the market reacts to. And, of course, I mean, you know, the Russia-Ukraine headlines, will we get something by way of an escalation? That's the other thing. Remember, out of the US, we'll get, you know, for the first time, data in terms of how the economy is doing with the PMI numbers. This is going to be, you know, I think a data which markets will watch closely because this is post-Trump coming to power. Dollar has been very, very strong, not particularly great news for emerging markets. So I think that's something else from a global perspective, which is going to be important. Back to you.
The rupee recovered slightly after hitting a record low yesterday. However, the greenback's steady rise and persistent selling by foreign portfolio investors continue to weigh heavily on the currency. Escalating geopolitical tensions also weighed in on the rupee. The bribery allegations against Gautam Adani and group executives in the United States remain our top focus. Adani stocks recovered a day after a massive sell-off led to the erosion of close to 2.3 lakh crore rupees worth of investor wealth. 6 of the 10 Adani Group stocks ended in the green today. Meanwhile, reports suggest that the market regulator is looking into whether the Adani Group flouted rules by failing to disclose that the US government was investigating bribery allegations against Gautam Adani and other group executives. Here's a quick recap of what transpired. A US court indicted Gautam Adani, his nephew, Sagar Adani, and several other officials for allegedly bribing Indian government officials to obtain solar energy contracts. According to the indictment, Adani allegedly paid bribes to the tune of over 2,000 crore rupees. This included an alleged bribe of 1,750 crore rupees to a high-ranking official in the Andhra Pradesh government who has not been named. In a separate indictment, the US Securities Market Regulator claims Gautam Adani personally met with the then Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy in August 2021. Jagan Mohan Reddy's YSR Congress said that there was no direct agreement between Andhra Pradesh's power discom companies and any Adani Group firm. The party said that the power sale agreement was signed between Solar Energy Corporation and state discoms. SECI, a central public sector enterprise, is the procurement intermediary between companies and power discoms. Hormuz Fatakia joins us now. Hormuz, a lot happening at the Adani counter.
A lot happening indeed. It was a very volatile day for all the Adani Group companies. They opened lower, there was a bit of a recovery, then they fell again from the highs of the day. And then around about 10:30, 11 o'clock, we got the news that GQG, which is one of Adani Group's biggest investors at the height of the Hindenburg scandal in 2023, they announced a share buyback, which was $65 million or 100 million Australian dollars. And in light of that news, GQG shares, which are listed in Australia, they went up 16%, but by the close of trading there, their stock was also off the highs of the day. They also ended around 4% higher. So around 8 Adani Group stocks ended with gains in today's trading session. Energy Solutions, Green were the ones that still continued to end with losses. And S&P came out with a note earlier this morning. They mentioned that they are revising the outlook on Adani Ports and one of the units of Adani Green to negative. And this may restrict a lot of the funding access from the overseas markets for a lot of these entities. And they will need regular access to equity and debt funding simply because they have elaborate growth plans and also to regularly refinance their existing debt, and that's why they mentioned that. But S&P also wrote in their note that the Adani companies, if they are the ones that they cover, are built on long-established infrastructure assets with strong fundamentals and cash flow. But if the allegations are proven to be true, it can have some bearing on the operations. JP Morgan too came out with a note, and they also say some things on similar lines, that the developments can essentially curtail their group's funding access overall in the offshore bond market. And especially for Adani Green Energy, which has near-term maturities of over 9,500 crores in the second half of the financial year. Adani Energy too has around $500 million of a US dollar bond which is due in August of 2026. And this recent developments may see the exit of some global investors because of this recent judgments. So it was a volatile day for the Adani Group stocks. It was a recovery, but not a recovery at the same time.
Right. Thank you very much, Hormuz, for joining us with that important update. This is a story that we continue to follow very, very closely, and the opposition also asking questions of the government. The US government has also reacted to the charges against the Adani Group. The White House press secretary has said that the US is confident of navigating the crisis given the strong ties between the two nations.
Obviously, we're aware of these allegations, and I would have to refer you to the SEC and DOJ about the specifics of those allegations against the Adani Group. What I will say is on the U.S. and India relationship, we believe that it's stands on an extremely strong foundation, anchored in ties between our people and cooperation across a full range of global issues. And so what we believe and we're confident about is that we'll continue to navigate this issue as we have with other issues that may have come up, as you just stated. And so the specifics of this is something that SEC and DOJ can speak to directly.
Onto a CNBC-TV18 exclusive quick commerce platform, Zepto has raised $350 million from a clutch of investors in a mega domestic funding round. This is India's largest 100% domestic fundraise raised by a startup so far. Speaking exclusively to Shireen Bhan, Zepto CEO Adit Palicha claimed that the company created over 1 lakh jobs and the average monthly salary of delivery partners is more than 23,000 rupees. Palicha also denied predatory pricing charges. He said that the company has cut out inefficient middlemen from its value chain.
We raised over $300 million. It's the largest 100% Indian fundraise for a private startup in the history of this country, right? And we are proud of it. The reason why, when we started this financing, we had over $1 billion of net cash in bank, no debt, right? We're growing well. And the reason why we raise this capital, candidly, is because, throughout the entire life cycle of Zepto, we've always wanted to bring on board domestic capital. The first one is predatory pricing. I'll give you an exact data point. So that allegation is false unequivocally by data. If you look at the exact number of units sold on the Zepto platform in FY24 that was below COGS, it was 0.2%. Only 0.2% of our units were sold below cost price of the manufacturer. 99.8% we were making margin on it. 99.8%, right? Even in the stores that we had.
And who's verified this?
This is EY verified. I'm happy to, I'm happy to go, publicly and say anyone that wants to diligence this, please come into our office. Let's look at the books, right? Because we've got data and facts, and there are anecdotes and hyperbole, right? And we're on the side of data and facts. So 0.2% of our units were sold below cost price in FY24. We don't expect the number to change in FY25 much, but we've got book closure numbers for the full year FY24. Even in the markets that we were profitable in, we were meaningfully lower than MRP. So are we predatory pricing? The answer is no. If you look at it, we've created structural deflationary value. We've cut out all the inefficient middlemen that exist in the value chain for grocery, the distributor, the wholesaler. We go straight to the manufacturer. We're procuring millions of products at scale, getting it at a better price. That goes into the platform at a better price for the consumer than MRP, cutting out all the inefficient middlemen that have been sucking out value, and the consumer has had to pay at MRP. So we've structurally reduced the price. We've been able to turn our stores profitable, and that means we're not predatory pricing, we're actually deflationary. So as an industry, to give you a sense, we've gone from 0 to 4.5 lakh jobs in 36 months. As an industry, quick commerce, Zepto alone has created over 1 lakh jobs, right? Which is something we should celebrate. If you look at the wages of those jobs, the average wage of all the people that have been in the system that I mentioned, from the delivery partner all the way to a truck driver to the pickers and packers, etc., and the farmers, we've got over 10,000 farmers that are the plurality of their income today in the country. The average wage is 23,200 rupees on Zepto. You extrapolate that to the industry, and it's quite a lot of wages. To give you a sense, when we did a survey of our delivery partners, we have the data as well. The most common thing that they were doing before they were on Zepto or Zomato or Swiggy or before gig work? Yeah. We put a lot of demonization of this. But you know what the most common thing that they were doing before it? Nothing. They were unemployed. This is young, urban males, urban youth, 10th or 12th pass education, no formal history of employment. That was the first thing that they were doing is they were earning zero, they were unemployed. The second most common answer is they were engaged in some form of informal employment where it's factual and it's been covered by credible economic studies that in the informal sector, things like minimum wages are not adhered to as much as we'd like. Right? And so we've got, we've estimated and from the surveys that we've done at scale, statistically significant, that, even the people that were employed were making 10 to 15,000 rupees per month. And now they're making 23,000 rupees per month, right? So we're a net job creator. We're net wage additive. And, we're not predatory pricing.
And you can catch this exclusive interview at 4:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. only on CNBC-TV18. The global CEO of semiconductor maker AMD, Lisa Su, says India is one of the most important markets as it houses the company's largest team outside of the United States. She's on a visit to India as AMD celebrates completing 20 years in the country. Shireen Bhan spoke to Lisa Su, who promised that AMD will continue to invest in the Indian market.
Yes, well, it's a very special week for us this week. I'm here celebrating our 20th anniversary in India. India is such an important part of AMD. When we look across our, all of our, global portfolio, every aspect of our product line goes through our design center here in India. And so I had a great time this morning with our team. And when I look back at the last 10 years, it's kind of interesting that we had met each other 10 years ago. It's been a remarkable experience. I mean, if you think about all of the things that have changed over the last 10 years, I say that, semiconductors have now gone from, something that was, kind of behind the scenes, under the covers to today. Everybody's talking about semiconductors, and semiconductors are essential to, every business, every country, every profession. So I think that feels very good. And then from an AMD standpoint, I think we've also had a very good 10 years in terms of, taking our business from what was, in 2015, we were about a $4 billion company, and this year we'll be north of $25 billion. So there's been a lot of growth in there.
There has been a lot of growth, and I'll address the growth in just a second. But I want to double down on your bet on India. And you have committed $400 million to 2028, and you've just been here to inaugurate the last phase of this campus. Why the decision to make India the home for your largest R&D facility?
Well, we actually look at it in a very logical way. When you think about our business, it's all about having the most talented people around the globe. We run a very global team, and we did make a bet on India. We made a bet that we could build an end-to-end design capability here. So hardware, software, systems. It's an extremely talented team. And with the investments, nothing comes overnight. It comes after literally 20 years. I think 20 years ago, we started with, maybe 100 people. Now we have 8,000 people in India across all of our product portfolio. And I think the bet has really, paid off. We wanted to have a major site in India, and we wanted to grow that skill set across the board. And I'm very happy to say that this is our largest team outside of the U.S. This is our largest design center here in Bangalore. So it is a very special place.
Well, I'm glad to hear that from you, Lisa. I also want to link this to the larger semiconductor story that's now starting to play out in India. You met with the Prime Minister in September when he was in the US for his visit. India is aspiring now to become a manufacturing hub of semiconductors as well. How do you see that playing itself out, and what do you believe will be some of the things that we need to be mindful of as we grow this ecosystem in this industry here?
Well, I have to say, I have a very, very high regard for Prime Minister Modi and his strong vision on technology across semiconductors, both the Make in India, semiconductor manufacturing, design, as well as all the focus on AI. I think every aspect of that is truly important as we go forward, and especially around semiconductor manufacturing. What I admire is the very concrete, pragmatic steps that have been taken to both attract global companies here, as well as building the local infrastructure and ecosystem. And I think the one thing is, these ecosystems take time. They don't come overnight. But I would say, lots of, very strong progress. And, we continue to invest in India because we really believe that this will be one of the most important markets and regions going forward, as well as a wonderful, infrastructure and ecosystem for the type of development that we do.
So it's a day of big exclusives, Zepto on one hand and the AMD Global CEO on the other, only on CNBC-TV18. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. News and updates continue right here.